Hello, this is Stephen Nojiri, and this is another Tada Genji tradition video. This is also the first video on this channel where I'm showing my face, and that is in celebration of this particular video, which is going to be working with the scroll of refining intention from the Fukushima Ryu Shinobi no Maki. Now, as some of you know, and if you're not aware, now you will be, I really love the Fukushima Ryu Shinobi no Maki, and the scroll of refining intention is one of my favorite texts. Now, in the book, Samurai Traditions of the Tada Genji, it's on page 148. This video, I'm going to read through the scroll of the translation of the scroll of refining intention and provide some additional commentary.
So with that, let's jump right into it. The way this is going to work is there's going to be the quote of the text. The actual translation will be white italicized, and then I am working from two different copies. So there will be pictures from one or both of the copies about the lines being discussed, and then there will be arrows and different colors to corroborate notes, etc., etc. So let's dive right in. So the first quote is, "Shinobi no mono do not use esoteric or highly advanced techniques in the beginning. Prior to implementation of any esoteric or advanced techniques, a shinobi no mono should first utilize the 5 factors combined with wisdom, compassion, and bravery as the basis for their tactics." So if you look at your screen, you can see this line coming from the text. The purple arrow is actually pointing to the title of the scroll. So within the Fukushima Ryu Shinobi no Maki, you find the Fukushima Ryu scroll of refining intention. And you'll see on the screen, you can see the purple with the notes, basically refining intention. The key word here is intention, and then the second word is spiritual refinement. It's also a form of the word gunfu, which is that the concept of working hard in order to perfect something. Don't mistake this gunfu with martial arts. This isn't hand-to-hand fighting. This is the idea of working hard, training yourself, perfecting something, working hard in order to perfect the understanding of something. So this is how we arrive at the definition of refining the intention. So you can say it's spiritual refinement of the mind or refining the intention. There's a couple different ways you could translate it, but we've chosen to go with the scroll of refining intention. Now in the green, you can see this is discussing shinobi do not use myo in the beginning. And if you follow any of my books or videos, you know that within this Kusunoki Tada context, of which the Fukushima Ryu falls, myo refers to esoteric and advanced, even potentially experimental techniques. And so what this is saying is that the shinobi has lots of myo, like there's lots of magic and there's lots of crazy tools and techniques, but that is not the foundation of shinobi. The foundation of shinobi, rather, is utilizing the 5 factors along with wisdom and compassion and bravery in order to create one's tactics. So one's tactics should not be based on the wondrous and the advanced. They should be based on the 5 factors and wisdom, bravery, and compassion. Now, it is possible that the 5 factors discussed here could be alluding to the Tada Genji 5 factors of espionage. It is possible, and that might be a double meaning. However, it's more likely that it's referring to Sun Tzu's 5 factors, because later on in this scroll of refining intention, it directly quotes the Sun Tzu. So more than likely, it's meant to refer to the 5 factors from Sun Tzu, but because it comes from the Kusunoki Tada cluster, there could be a double meaning of the Tada Genji's 5 espionage factors. So continuing on, we get the line, "If a shinobi tries to obtain results with only the esoteric and the highly advanced, they will become deluded and lose honshin." Now, there's no picture for this quote, but here's the commentary. So when it says esoteric and highly advanced, it's referring to myo, because it just said don't use myo as the foundation. So it's saying if you try to use myo as the foundation, or you only rely on these esoteric and advanced techniques, then you will become deluded, highly confused, irrational, and scattered. and you lose honshin. Honshin has a double meaning. Honshin refers to not only the wisdom mind, like the Buddha mind or the Buddha nature or the wisdom nature, but it also, honshin can also refer to the correct mind for the situation. So you become deluded and you lose the correct way of thinking for your situation, and you also become so deluded that your sort of Buddha mind or wisdom mind becomes blocked as well. The next quote is, "The shinobi observes the enemy undetected with the element of surprise, works independently, and strikes the enemy in the dark of night." Or an alternate translation could be, "The shinobi observes the enemy with the element of surprise, and by working independently by the dark of night strikes the insubstantial." So this part about striking the insubstantial, this actually is, we have to focus on that one, because, and you'll see over here on the, I used I've pulled from two different copies. So the green is basically pointing to the part where it says the enemy watches the enemy unexpectedly or without surprise. So that's kanji, means by surprise or unexpected, you watching the enemy, and it's basically meaning that you're watching the enemy undetected. The enemy, you, in other words, you would surprise the enemy, or you are unexpected. And then the red is referring to working alone. That part right there says that working independently. And it's not just working independently, but it's also the ability to come up with things on the fly without relying on other people. And then the purple is the part where it says, "In the dark of night, striking the vacant or the empty spots or the insubstantial spots." And what it means by the insubstantial is it means both the psychological weak points of the enemy, but also it can mean physically unguarded places. The next line is, "One follows intuition with faith and reaches the truth." There's no picture for this quote, but it is a beautiful line. One follows intuition with faith and reaches the truth, or with faith one utilizes intuition to reach the truth. There's different ways you could put it in English, but it's still a beautiful line, and it's a very profound line. But I'm saving deeper commentary for that for a later video that talks about truth and faith and intuition. That's a big part of Fukushima Ryu. It's also a big part of Kusunoki and Tada Genji overall. The next line is, "Correct bravery should not be restrained or admonished. Brute courage should be restrained and admonished." So we need to look at this. So in the green line, I'm pointing to where it says "not admonished," and then in the purple lines are pointing to say existing of admonishment, or you do admonish. So what are we not admonishing, and what are we admonishing? And what we are not restraining is we are not restraining upper level bravery, or what we've translated as correct bravery. It literally says upper level bravery, but this is the type of bravery that within the Kusunoki tradition is considered the proper and correct level of bravery. If you've read my book or listened to some of the videos, you notice Kusunoki has this idea about middle level, the upper leader, the middle leader, and the lower leader. So when we're talking about upper, we're talking about the correct, right? So upper is correct, middle is does the job, and lower is fails, basically. So upper level bravery is correct bravery. Now so we don't want to restrain that. That's kind of its own video. Like, what does Kusunoki and Tada Genji mean by upper level bravery, or by the correct bravery? That basically is its own video. But to understand it in this context, we can look at what is to be restrained. And what is to be restrained is what is known as hot-blooded and vigorous bravery, or brute courage. Translated as brute courage. The kanji literally means blood, spirit, or blood chi. Hot-blooded, vigorous. It refers to what they call in the Kusunoki text the lower level, or the failing level of bravery. And that is someone who is brash, uncalculating, They just run at the enemy without any sort of plans. The goal is to just, I'm just going to kill, kill, kill. I don't care. I'm not afraid to die. I don't care. You know, that kind of bravery. That kind of bravery that is upheld a lot in a lot of traditions, like the OA tradition, remember? But the Kusunoki, Tada Genji, Fukushima, Southern Court tradition cluster does not value that sort of brute courage. It actually teaches against that kind of. If you remember me discussing the difference between the OA teaching and the Tada Genji teaching, the Tada Genji teaching is based more on plotting, planning, calculating, whereas the OA tradition teaches that you should throw away, recklessly just attack the enemy. So this is a good example of that dichotomy. And the Fukushima Ryu is teaching that you should be you should be calculating and cautious. You should not throw caution to the wind and just blindly attack the enemy. So the next line that is in step with the previous lines is that caution should be applied as it is a medicine for easing one's situation. However, this line takes a lot of work to get to that translation. The first reason is because the kanji that's in red, where the arrow is pointing to, is almost certainly a mistake. It's either transcription error or the original author knew the correct word but didn't know the right kanji, because that kanji is a numerical kanji and it means nothing in this context. However, it is pronounced the same as a kanji which means caution or timidity, and that kanji makes sense. So if you assume that that's either a transcription error or just an error in being the wrong kanji, you get the term a small amount of caution or a small amount of timidity, a reasonable amount of caution. And so that's the first thing you have to know. The second thing is that the line is difficult to render into English because it literally says anything less than a little bit of timidity is to be admonished. But that's what it literally says. But what is implying is that it is okay and to use a little bit of caution. You should use a little bit of caution because a little bit of caution is like a medicine for easing one's situation. That's what it is implying, but it literally says anything less than a little bit of timidity is to be admonished. So it can be kind of confusing. But to keep it sort of straightforward, I've used caution should be applied as it is a medicine for easing one situation, but I want you, the readers and the viewers, to know that what it literally says as well. Also, you should understand that in English, we would conceive of it as anything more than a little bit of caution is to be restrained. But within the context, anything less than a little bit of caution would actually mean more caution or more timidity. So that's why this is a very interesting line, but hopefully with this explanation it makes sense. Next up we have the line, mastering these skills, in addition to these sets of principles, your chi will be enhanced and benefits will be acquired. So in the red, you see the kanji and the arrow. That is the increase of chi or the enhancing of chi. And in this particular case, chi can, you could choose to understand chi as like being your energy or your spirit, but more than likely, in accordance with the rest of the Fukushima Shinobi no Maki, it's referring, enhanced chi should be understood as enhanced perception, because the word chi, especially in old samurai manuals, actually refers to your attention. So if something catches your chi, it means it's caught your attention. If you put your chi towards something, you're paying attention to it. So the enhancement of chi is the enhancement of your ability to perceive things, enhancement of your perception. And then gain benefit is in green. You can see it. It literally means gain benefit. And benefit, we could go on and on and on about what benefit would mean, but we'll just leave it at that and move on. The next line is, and what I've done for this next line is I've underlined it, as you see. So the next line is, defeating the enemy is a matter of calculation and perception, and the utilization of established roads. An alternative translation is, defeating the enemy is a matter of using established methods and calculations based on advanced perception. So the part that is underlined in orange, defeating the enemy, that's right there. Defeating the enemy literally just means to cut the enemy, to stop the enemy. The yellow is about your calculating and your perception. And then the blue, where it's underlined, says established roads, can also be read. It says established roads, but it can be understood as established methods. And now we reach the quote from the Sun Tzu: severing the enemy's plans is the highest military art. Alternatively, you can say severing the enemy's tactics is the uppermost military deed. And the way that we get this is the first part, you'll see two pictures. First one with the green arrow, second one with the red arrow. So the green one is to sever or cut the enemy's plots and plans. And then the second one with the red arrow, highest military art, or the uppermost military deed. And so the first, you see these two, can I break that down into the highest military or the uppermost military? And then that third kanji means deed or result. And it's actually the same kanji used in Buddhism to refer to karma. And you remember, karma in Buddhism means action and result. So you can see that this is the uppermost military action and result, also translated as uppermost military deed. So to cut the enemy's plan is the highest military art or the highest military deed. Now, for some people, they may go, wait, why are you saying military? Why are you saying plot? Doesn't that say tactician? No. This is so this is where you got to understand. This is a direct quote from Sun Tzu, and it uses the old Chinese way of writing plot, which means like plot thing. In this particular case, if it was in native Japanese, or if it was a Japanese only line, it would just use it would use one kanji for plot. But because it quotes the original Chinese, it uses plot and thing. Don't get it confused. It's old Chinese. Do not read plot as tactician. That's not how it's read in this case. In this case, because it's a quote from the old Chinese, it's not referring to any kind of person. It's just referring to the thing of the plot thing. So it's just a Chinese grammar issue. And it is absolutely meant to be read, severing the enemy's plans is the highest military art, or severing the enemy's plans is the uppermost military deed. And now we have the closing lines. However, in a desperate situation, you may need to attack, or you may need to blindly attack without calculation. Obtaining benefits in this way is not skillful. Even with the courage of a humble man, you can achieve 100 victories out of 100 conflicts if you act in accordance with shunyata, aka the principle of emptiness. Honshin will not be lost and one will secure benefits. So you see the blue underline, Honshin will not be lost and one will secure benefits. That's underlined in blue, and that's the blue arrow pointing to that picture. So that picture with the blue arrow, that is where it says Honshin is not lost and benefits are secured. It literally says, does not lose Honshin, benefits secured, right? Now, the picture to the left of that, the one that doesn't have an arrow pointing to it, that's the one that says, with the courage of a humble man, you can win 100 victories out of 100 conflicts, as utilizing the principle of emptiness, or shunyata. Now, this one we have to just be clear. The line, when it says the courage of a humble man, it means the courage of a humble man. But I need to warn the viewers, sometimes in other documents, humble man's courage is used to refer to ignorant bravery, or sort of like the bravery of stupid people, ignorant people's bravery. And it can, by definition, sometimes refer to what we already pointed out as being brute courage or stupid courage. But in this text, it has already specifically pointed out that brute or careless bravery must be restrained and admonished. So in this text specifically, it means the courage of a humble man or a low class man, a lowly person. In other words, somebody who is not particularly brave, somebody who's not been trained in warrior culture, even someone who's not been trained to be a warrior, who may even have come from theoretically, a low birth. Somebody, in other words, somebody who is not very brave can still win 100 out of 100 times if they act in accordance with shunyata. Remember, shunyata is a Buddhist teaching. It's a Buddhist term, and it's the principle of emptiness. It's the Buddhist teaching that nothing has a permanent, inherent, nor a self-characterized identity or form. That, of course, requires its own video to go into detail. But so the scroll of refining intention places shunyata as the key principle. Now, before we go on and finish this video, I have to give you an alternate translation because the grammar of this particular section is awkward, and it could be true that it is meant to be read differently. So the alternate translation for that section is, however, it actually combines the previous section and it says, however, in a desperate situation, you may need to blindly attack the enemy. You may use brash, aka ignorant courage, to attain some advantage and benefits, but this is not skillful. You can win 100 victories out of 100 battles with the principle of shunyata. In this way, honshin is not lost and benefits are secured. So it is possible that it is meant to be read that way, and that it is basically saying that sometimes you have to be brash and ignorant, but if you use the principle of shunyata in this particular case, you can not lose honshin and you can win 100 out of 100 battles. It's very possible that it could be read that way because the grammar here is awkward. However, so we cannot know for certain exactly how that ending is supposed to be read. I, however, have chosen to use the logic within the text to translate the term as humble man, and I put that with 100 out of 100 segment. Now, this is based on the document's own logic and the document's own presentation. However, the above alternate translation is equally possible based on the grammar. So, because it's unclear, you can have, it could mean brash courage and translate as above, or it could be as I discussed in the previous slide. So the viewer needs to be aware of this. For the sake of moving forward, I've pushed forward with the humble man translation and lining it up that way, but what you see on your screen is because the grammar is very weird in this section. It is possible that it's supposed to link up and be read that way. And in closing, what you see on your screen is the end of the scroll of refining intention, which is also the end of the Fukushima Ryu Shinobi no Maki. And the scroll for refining intention ends with the line about shunyata and not losing honshin and obtaining benefits. But because it is also the end of the Fukushima Ryu Shinobi no Maki, you get a summary line which basically says this scroll is the foundation of Shinobi, basically contains the essential elements for refining your mind. The previous documents contained elements that are myo, so things that are myo, as well as some principle-based or logical non-myo techniques. So basically the line just says that this is a Shinobi document. It's about the fundamental principles of Shinobi and to sort of train your mind correctly. It contains some esoteric and advanced techniques, but it also contains some fundamental or standard techniques as well. And that's the summary line for the entire thing. And then, so that's what's in red, the line point that the red arrows are pointing to. And then the green arrows are pointing to the Nojiri Jiroi Manarimasa, who wrote the document, and then Nojiri Masasugu, who inherited it as a third generation. And and that's it. And thank you for listening. Again, like I said, this is one of my favorite documents. The Fukushima Ryu Shinobi no Maki is my favorite Shinobi scroll. And within that scroll, the scroll of refining intention is my favorite part. And I'm very happy to have to any time that I can go over this, it makes me really happy. So hopefully you enjoyed this presentation because I really enjoyed presenting it. Hopefully you enjoyed it as well.